But this is Kendra with True Us TV, and I'm back with another video. And I'm just doing commentary. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Make sure that you like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Make sure I like, share, and subscribe to other people's channels as well, especially if I'm on their content. But anyway, this is for educational purposes only. This is an each one teach one moment. But I wanted to talk about this real quick. I want to talk about what this black woman says, this American woman, because we are not African. African American is a misnomer. We are American Indian. That's it. Ain't no, so I'm gonna say American Indian versus African, because that's exactly what we are. And so I'm gonna backtrack into the video and let this kind of let this African woman speak, but then let the American black girl speak.
And world. So women
American
a lot of
Indian
the times are looking for
black,
husbands for protection, for security, for that financial stability.
We're here doing the same.
The economy, the way the whole country is set up, that man is there to give you a softer, better life. Right. It might not be the case behind closed doors, but outside to the public, to everybody else.
But that's the same everywhere. That's not just African. That's also the American women who want the same provision. When we date, a lot of us women want to be married. We date with the intent. Maybe our men may not, because they've been culturally messed up through white supremacy. But when we date, a lot of our black women, we date because we want marriage. And a lot of times this illusion that society paints that black women don't want to be married is a lie. It's an illusion. The illusion they also paint is that black men don't want to be married. That's also a lie. We do want to be married, but we want to find suitable partners, right? People that we vibe with well, people that will love us in our mess and love us out of our mess. And I think the common misconception is that everybody want love but us. You know what I mean? And so it's a common misconception practice. Just like African people, when we date to marry, and we are looking for the support of our husbands. We're looking for the support of the men in our lives. You know what I mean? It's just a different demographic and a different understanding based on factors that are different. In Africa, the situation was set up a little different. In America, black women became independent as a result of mass incarceration, the drug epidemic, the systematic racism is the reason why black women became independent. It was not to smite or come over the black man. That is what white supremacists used to divide black men from black women. We, under no circumstance, became independent to get at our men. We had no choice. When our men were locked up, when our men were taken out of our homes, when they could not get jobs and affirmative action had to be implemented, we needed to survive. How else were we to do that? You get what I mean? After our families had lost all their housing, lost their land, their homes, driven out by KKK, who else? And then they wouldn't, after they made us lose our home, they weren't going to hire our men. So it left us with picking up the pieces. Not because we wanted to, but because we had to. That is the difference between Africans and us American Indian. It's completely different. And I want y'all to understand that. Okay, before we get into
you have that leader and that protection. It's just that you feel it instantly. I was just in Nigeria last year. I went for business. Nobody cared that I was a businesswoman coming there for what I was doing, because anytime I went somewhere, they would take longer to bring my food. The difference was clear when my male friends were with me, where it was like, guy, bring that food now. 10 minutes, food is at the table. Right. But when I'm there, I gotta wait till the waiter can, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not that. When I go to Nigeria and I'm with a man, I don't even look at a bill. Like, it's different. Like, you feel the society leaning towards like, you're just
that's not
you're
true.
At a higher rank because you have this man.
I believe it to some degree. But then again, I can't fully believe you, Africa, because then your country would look a lot different. You say one thing, but given the society in which y'all live in, I believe that there's a hierarchy of men, right? Of course, that's everywhere. And I believe that women, because it's in a black community, when you are married, especially in my family, when you are married, in my family, marriage is like, if you got a man, baby, they respect you So that's not just an African thing. That was practiced heavily in my family. And it's to the point where these women went to get any piece of to marry so that they can be respected or revered in such a way. That happened a lot in my family. And a lot of crazy things happen in my family as a result. You ever hear that saying, a PC man is better than no man? A lot of the women in my family did just that. I'm just saying.
Give me some money.
Right.
You really soft.
And I think even too, like the prevalence of like arranged marriages in your guys' culture, like that in and of itself signifies like the importance of marriage. Where like African American women, like personally for me, my mom is Japanese, my dad is African American. Like even though he did definitely press like, okay, where's your husband? He's not sitting here like trying to actually find me a husband, you know. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't heard a lot from you.
Yeah, I mean, I put no because I didn't grow up in a very strict African household, and that's like not very common as an African person. But yeah, like it was more so like, you know, do your studies. If you want to date, but be careful. It was very free, and I appreciate that because I can't relate to a lot of the things that a lot of African people go through in like the households, but yeah, I think my mom has a very open-minded, leans very American, I would say, but she's like an African woman. She's African. But yeah, it's just, I can't really relate, but I definitely agree and see it happen a lot. It's a big thing in African culture.
Are you 30 plus?
I'm 21.
Okay, I was gonna say,
yeah, your age is,
wait a little longer. Okay, I do have a question for the ladies on the African side. Do you feel that there's an expectation for African women to submit more in relationships or face stricter gender roles than African American women?
No.
Absolutely.
It's not
No,
in
it's
the
not.
USA or just
The pressure is the same. It's just done different. Do you not hear how American black women are ridiculed? They try to crucify us because they say we're not submissive, not understand that they don't even understand what submission means. Submission is not abuse. You know that submission is willful, right? It's a willful participation to honor you with monogamy and respect. It is not that you rule over me and mistreat me and cheat on me and do what you want. To understand submission is what both men and female in America need to do. But I digress. Go on.
In the USA, I guess you could.
Absolutely.
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 I feel like if they know that you're African, and because they've had that African women know how to submit, they expect that from you, and it just makes the whole dynamics just go a little bit off. But yes, it's expected.
Are there any examples of the ways that an African man or his family would expect you as a wife to behave that may be different than maybe African American experience?
Oh my gosh. I hate to be the one talking all the time, but I'm gonna have to jump in here. I remember dating this one guy, and when I first went over to see his parents and everything, it was great because they were like, oh, okay, you finally brought somebody that makes sense, it was good. And they cooked for me, everything was great, right? I'm thinking, oh, this is a different experience. I'm thinking I'm in here and it's soft. Next time I come, they're looking at me like, oh, okay, where are you from? I tell them where I'm from, and they're like, you're going to cook, because I'm from Akwa Ibom in Nigeria, and they're like, you're going to cook that edikaikom, which is one of our like very well-known soups in Nigeria. So I'm like, yeah, but my parents are chefs. I don't, And they're looking at me like, so I'm just like, all right. I felt that instant pressure already to prove myself.
We do that. We have that same
yes,
thing.
I can be a good wife to this man, but why? Why ain't he cooking for me? Come to find out later on, he couldn't cook, and that was one of my deal breakers. I had to let him go.
But what you guys don't understand, it's done in a different way. But nevertheless, black American women are expected. A lot of black American women get hell from their in-laws. A lot of black in-law, especially the mothers, are nasty to black women who become the wives to their sons. They compete with them. They're not nice. A lot of black women, when they're married, don't always have good experience with the in-laws because they do expect of that black woman, but what they expect is her to be a doormat. Y'all don't be knowing. They expect American black women to be a doormat, that they son rule over that woman, take advantage of her, and they expect it even when they dating. They expect that. You gotta see the dynamics of relationships of black women and these black men, and the family, and how the family want to treat that black woman. They want to use that. If she is going to date their son, they want to be able to use her. They want to, she work, can you ask her for some money for me? You be surprised. Okay? I'm just saying, from what I see,
for me, it's like
experience.
You can feel that they want to act like, oh, it's all good, but there's still expectations. Yeah. Can she take care of him? Yeah. It's annoying.
Is there anything you'd like to add to that, or anything that you've experienced?
So on the African American woman side, I think we have a bad rap in America. I think people already know that if they get with a black woman that's from America, don't expect no submitting, don't expect me to be quiet.
It's not that we don't submit. That's a common misconception. When we understand what submission truly is, you understand that black women do it. Compromise is submission. A lot of black women compromise with their men. How so? When a man has not worked in years and he's still able to drive your car and live in your house and be fed, you have submitted. When you are making that man meals and treating him like he truly is the head of a household when he has not been the head of a household, you have submit to him. You understand me? There are a lot of black men who don't talk about how they are treated like royalty and act like peasants in their household. Do you understand me? They act less than good men. They do not do right by their women, and yet they are giving kingdom, treatment. Let's really hash this out, y'all. We know how to submit. It's just that a lot of time, and I will admit this, a lot of black women submit to the wrong men out of desperation.
That's how I'm talking now. That's how I'm going to talk to you. You seen Angela Bassett in that lovely movie, Waiting to Exhale. You can expect that you will not be cheating on me after 11 years of helping you out because your car is going to blow up. No, I just really think that that's kind of been a stereotype, but there is a little truth to it. We are raised to be independent. We are raised, as she said earlier, to have a job, do all these things, and raise the kids.
Even when we raised by our father,
so if that's going to be the case,
like that. Our daddies
I'm not putting up with no mess. Right. So that means if you're not acting right, if you're not...
not to cut her off, but even when we're raised by fathers, our fathers are not teaching us to be housewives. They're actually teaching us to be independent because they know that men are unreliable. So they are teaching, I'm telling you, fathers are not teaching black girls to be submissive housewives. They are teaching their girls to be independent. Hear a real father and what he says to his daughter. He is not saying, girl, be a submissive wife and da-da. He's telling you to submit, but he's telling you how, right? And he's telling you have your own, right? Make sure you get an education. You're able to take care of yourself because that man provision is not always guaranteed.
Talking, if something's not right, I can speak up for myself. But I think it also gives us kind of like a bad stereotype in that way. It's like, ooh, she's gonna give me some black attitude.
Thank you.
Everyone talks about black.
Hold on.
Like they'll probably just crack some jokes
on the accent.
Yeah, I mean not even like.
As well, how would your family feel about you dating someone
an American Indian dating an African
community? Opposite in this discussion.
My family is like childish, so they like to tease. Like anything, they'll probably just crack some jokes
on the accent.
Yeah, I mean not even like, oh, that's what you want, or
right.
Like, oh, you was going across the pond or something. Yeah. They would just crack jokes, but they wouldn't shun him or like not welcome him.
That's good.
That's the truth.
The only thing the women would say in my family is,
make sure you know how many wives he has.
Oh my gosh!
Yes,
You don't even know. My mother just my mother
mean,
would just be like, make sure he good to you. Just because he of a different race don't mean a man is a man is a man. That's the most my mother would say. A man is a man. But I ain't gonna lie. My mother have a lot about her, but my mother would not like for me to date an Asian man or a white man. I'm dead ass. She ain't with it. She say that's the only time when I be like, Ma, what if I date an Asian man? She be like, My mother will object to that. I'm telling she will. And my mother don't do a lot of that, like who you date is who you date. But my mother objects to white men and Asian men. If I say I'm gonna be with an Asian man or a white man, even Hispanic, my mother would be like, my mom is funny because she don't, whatever you choose for yourself, she'll like, but she was adamant when I said those races. She was like, girl, no. So, teach his own.
To defend my man.
That's the one time she actually said something like that.
Anybody.
Yeah. We'll move on to the next problem.
Hi, y'all. My name is Blessing, and I'm the owner of a Boki Bee.
America.
Colorism
3,
affects them
2.
equally. Yep.
Okay. Anyone can speak.
I actually did a project on this in high school because I thought it was such a huge deal in my family. I come from like the typical African American family, so you're gonna have like everybody of every shade in there. But on my mom's side, everybody was very, very light. And everybody prized being very, very light. They didn't do it on purpose, but that's the way that they were brought up. So it was very, very like, don't
in my
get
family,
out
my
in the
mother
sun
wasn't like
too
that.
much. You're gonna get too
My
dark.
mother treated all of us the
light
same.
was seen as
What made my
better.
mother tick is if you go through trauma. She'll baby you. I thank God my mother was not into colorism for real. She'll have stupid ideas when it comes to any of her kids because she like that. But colorism was not I didn't learn colorism from my household. I did from my older brother, but I didn't really learn it for real into the outside world.
And then I also saw that at school because I went to schools where it was predominantly white or Hispanic. So the closer you were to that aesthetic,
growing up in school, I didn't have those issues.
So
I didn't have those issues.
Wanting to fit in, as you said, wanting to fit in with other people.
Maybe teen
there was
to
this
grown.
pressure, and I felt that awareness. Oh,
like
my skin tone is just like this much off from being light enough to be cute. My hair is this texture, it's not straight enough. It's not like my mom's, or it's not like this person. So I really feel like it was heavy. And so I went to go see if it was like that across the world and in many different countries. So not even just in African culture, I've seen it all over the world.
Right, Dominican Republic got it bad.
People really do have this deep-seated hatred for darker skin and darker features and more indigenous features, and it's really, really sad. Because it's part of being human that people are going to be different. So to see a whole group of people as being, trying to put them down, basically. Right. So
I blame it on colonization and slavery.
Yes.
It has nothing to do with slavery. The assimilation to whiteness started after the Reconstruction era, right? Because if we look back in history, white didn't have anything to do with hue of complexion. It had something to do with wealth. So you can be any hue of complexion and consider white because of wealth. That means you acquired wealth. So that's for number one. White superiority didn't really start until after Reconstruction era, not 19, but it wasn't really implemented and enacted so until around the 1900s. And so because there was no transatlantic slave trade, right? And so I think that colorism, I don't know how long it's been, because we say white people started it could be so because the Willie Lynch letters, so they were trying to find ways to divide and conquer the American Indian. So starting it with your hair textures and hue of complexion probably was the basis of it, because you were allowed to get married how they were doing it in some wealthy areas is if there colleges back in the day is if you had a light-skinned mother and a black father, you would be accepted in colleges. But if your mother was dark-skinned and your father was dark-skinned, they wouldn't really let you in. The brown paper bag.
I have a personal story to share because I remember
I didn't have that. I just had little anecdotal experiences with colorism.
Growing up in Nigeria, people would always make comments about my skin tone, being yellow. They would always say, "Oh, yellow banana," they would make those comments.
You were brown.
I was pretty young, so I didn't really know it as colorism or anything. But I did.
You are not
know
yellow.
that
You're
I
brown.
was different,
You're about as
'cause
brown
they
as
would
ever.
always point out my skin tone. So even as a little girl, I used to kind of seep into my mind that I might
brown.
be better because they're talking about my skin all the time, just being noticed. And so when my family moved to the United States when I was 10 years old,
Right.
and I remember we moved to Wisconsin, so that was the first time of actually seeing what white people look like. So I remember
That's crazy.
being next to a young little white girl, and I put my skin against hers, because back home they would say that I was like light skin. So I was like, oh, I'm light skin, right? And then I did that, and I was like, wait a second, I'm black. And that was my first realization.
Girl,
that I was black.
Right.
Because I realized that
You're
the
not really
difference was
black.
so clear. And
Significant.
it almost felt like that magic that I used to have was kind of gone in that
But that
moment,
was
because
your mess.
I mean,
You
like
don't have
I
to
said,
tell me. I was a
didn't
little
really
kid. I had a light
deep
skinned
it too
sister,
much
so
as I'm
I was
deep in it
already
now as an
exposed
adult,
to
but
we
at that
being
time I was just like,
multicolored.
oh, okay.
My hand was
And
itching so bad.
I just kind of, grew up just realizing like, wow, like even anytime I would go back home, because I've been in America for a while, so my skin tone is a lot brighter when I would go back, and they would still make those comments, and I'm just like, wow, there really is a huge difference, like when people look at you based on your skin. But I didn't feel no special here. Here I was just black. It didn't matter what shade I was.
Right.
It's interesting because being someone who is African, my parents are born in Ghana, but I was born here, so I kind of got both experiences.
Mm-hmm.
We're
You
not
can
African American.
be sort of like light skin in the African world, but in the African American world, being light skin looks completely different.
Yes, you have to actually
It's
be
totally
light skinned.
different. And so it's interesting kind of going between both worlds
That
and
was
how
what I
you're
was struggling
perceived.
with. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to add too, because I think the question, and clarify me if I'm wrong, is if like colorism is like the same on both sides. I had my like answer green, and then I really thought about it, and I'm gonna switch to red. I feel like African women, and I think like, because a lot of what I learn about African women is through media. I mean, like, I don't have a lot of African people on my, like, in my life, but, like, with what, with what was said earlier about how a lot of African, like, people watch African American, like, TV and things like that, like, we don't have, like, people bleaching their skin, right?
Not really.
Like, I think
maybe celebrities like Lil'
that
Kim.
really just show us that, like, there's levels to this colorism stuff, and I think like especially with Africa, like, you know, deemed quote unquote as a more impoverished state versus like America, where, you know, we're selling millions of dollars. It's like it in comparison to like African American women in America, I just think that like colorism
hits
is
y'all
based on our
different.
survival. Like it's really not. Whereas like maybe African like women, it is, unfortunately.
I have a quick question though. Do you think being a lighter skinned African American woman and mixed race kind of might have colored your opinion? Because I can personally say, growing up in America, like as she spoke, I could go in the black community, I'm seen as lighter skinned to some people, but too dark in other circles. And it definitely affected how attractive. It even affected me going to auditions as an actress. They wanted a specific curl pattern. They asked me, can you please take a picture of your curl pattern? That determined whether or not I was going to get a job. So, and this is in America. And then, and there was skin bleaching in America. There's Ambi, if you ever look up that company.
My mother used to use
there's
that.
been years and years of that. Also, paper bag parties, if you look those up in the 1920s, if you were any darker than a paper bag, you couldn't even go to their college parties.
I was just saying.
Sororities. Yeah, I mean, like, I'm not saying, like, African American women's, like, experience of colorism isn't, like, valid in any experience. But, like, I just to say, like, in comparison to two different cultures, like we're Americans.
Yeah,
at the end of the
Ambi
day
was a
versus,
toner,
like,
it didn't bleach.
a continent like Africa that was literally stripped of its resources. Like, they're thousands of years behind.
We
like, I just think that they're, like,
stripped of
Ambi,
our
like,
resources.
Like, I'm not the paper bag test. Yes, I agree, but like. I don't know. Yes, I'm a light-skinned woman. Yes, I'm my perspective is like
You're
a
not a
mixed race, but
light-skinned
that
woman.
doesn't mean that I'm not like cognizant of the fact that like like darker skin women have like
it's just affected. It's just different. And I think the difference is in America, because Africans say that having brown skin isn't a unifying factor to them, where in America that is a unifying factor for us, right? Because we have white supremacy that we fight against. So there was a part of us that took pride in our brown skin, and there's a part of us that and there was a lot of time in history where we celebrated ourselves in every hue of complexion, right? We celebrated the dark-skinned women. We had Beyoncé's, but we also had Aaliyah's, and we also had Kelly Rowland's, and we also had Patti LaBelle's, and we had Aretha Franklin's, and we had these different women of all different shades of black women. We had your Queen Latifah, you know what I mean? Where you got all these Nia Longs, and you got all these women who share different hue of complexions within the spectrum of brown, and all, no matter if they were dark to light, Whitney Houston, they were celebrated, right? And so, and the beauty of them were celebrated. Like, Whitney Houston isn't a light-skinned woman. She's considered a dark-skinned woman. And people could, or they'd be like, brown-skinned, she's dark-skinned. However you cut that, brown, dark, whatever. She was still considered beautiful, right? Loretta Devine, dark-skinned woman, was considered beautiful. Nia Long is a dark-skinned woman, considered beautiful. You know what I mean? It wasn't, what's that other girl named? Gabrielle Union is a dark-skinned woman, considered beautiful. These aren't exceptions to the rules. These are, they were the rule book. Excuse me. The reason why they were cast for these roles is because they were very attractive in all their shades. You get what I mean? And all it was celebrated here in America. I don't know what they did over there in Africa.
But you know,
this is
I'm just
like
saying,
advertising.
It's not based on survival, and I'm just saying that if you looked at history, it was some people they were denied certain jobs, they were denied access to certain resources because they were deemed as too dark. They weren't allowed to participate in certain things
that was
because they
happening
were too
between
dark.
black folks.
So I'm not
was doing
so
that
that's why I'm just
discrimination.
asking, like, do you think that your experience colored that, because you're not referencing the history of those things that happened in this country? So it really did happen, and it really did hinder people. It's hindered me in certain jobs. And
well,
now
I never had a job hinder me for being dark skinned. I know that in the black community, one of the issues that I had being dark-skinned was people thinking that automatically I'm stupid. People associate my hue of complexion with not having enough intellect. People associate my hue of complexion with not being pretty enough. People associating my hue of complexion with not being successful. My sister is very much lighter than me. And the way they would speak to my sister, they would look her, and this is white folk, they would look her in her face and address her and talk to her. With me, they had no patience. They had no anything. I was not a loud person. I was outspoken in my own way, but not really, right? And they just didn't have any real, and it was just to do verses because they like to create discourse between black people and their family. But still, nevertheless, that was my experience as a darker skinned woman. I never felt ugly being dark skinned. I was a very attractive teenager, very attractive kid, very attractive woman, and very attractive woman. I'm attractive enough for anybody. And so growing up, when it came to colorism, I always felt like no matter what I did, I would be deemed unattractive anywhere, and I wore that. And I remember when my sister, her husband, I was crying because I was going through a situation, and he was, and I asked him, like, I forgot what I asked him verbatim. I asked my sister, I was crying. I was like, why do I keep getting experiences like that? Why do I get experiences where men say certain things to me like I'm the exception to the rule? I'm attractive to be a dark-skinned woman, or I'm the only dark-skinned woman I ever date, because most dark-skinned skinned women I don't even date, like shit like that. And it used to hurt my feelings, and it used to make me feel, I didn't feel good. You get what I mean? And he said, you want to know why you get experiences like that? It delivered me, I'm telling you that. I thank him to this day because of that. It delivered me, he said, because you wear it on your sleeve. You think these men can't tell that you feel like they're going to automatically choose a light-skinned woman over you? They see that that's your insecurity. They know it. Men study women. They know that automatically when no matter how attractive you are, that when you see a light-skinned woman step into the room, you're going to automatically assume that that's where his mind goes, and you're going to automatically opt yourself out. And I cried when I heard that, because that's exactly what it was. I didn't care if the light-skinned woman was, because black men would play with me like that. I want to talk about that separately, but black men would play with me like that. I don't care if the light-skinned woman was ugly, and y'all know y'all do this. I don't care if the light-skinned woman was ugly. They would sit in my face and be like, I'm looking at the light-skinned woman. They wanted me to notice so bad, and I'd be like, I don't care. And yes, y'all do that. And don't tell me I'm playing. I know exactly all the games that y'all niggas, Negroes, play when it comes to dark-skinned women. I see it, and yes, I call it out. I ain't embarrassed to call it out, because these are the games that y'all legitimately play, and to get into a mind of a dark-skinned woman. I done been there, done that. I'm too old to lie about it. They will play games with dark-skinned women, and when it comes to beauty, they will always try to big up a light-skinned woman in front of you, even if she's butt ugly. And even if you are more attractive, they be damn if you are dark-skinned and feel good about yourself. Even sometimes when there's no comparison and you just feel good within your own skin, it will definitely be a black man, and he will be black as tar himself, who will come at the woodwork like a roach, trying to make you feel bad about your brown hue of complexion. I know this very well. I'm telling you, this is the honest truth in my experience as a dark-skinned woman. Black men will try to make you feel the worst. If you got confidence and self-assurance, if you got confidence, it will roll off you. You know what I mean? I had to learn to love me. It'll roll off you, but it's still annoying, right? It's still annoying, and it's still annoying. There's no way to cut that. Anytime somebody, I used to love, we grew up with the TLC. I used to love the song I'm Pretty, because I felt good and secure in myself until I got around black men. You know what I mean? I felt like I was enough. Even now I feel like I'm enough. But you'll have some black man who'll be like, you don't look like this. I don't care about those dudes, to each his own. But still, you get what I mean? Like, that's annoying. But that was my experience, my little story.
I would say since 2013, where people could wear a 4C texture in a commercial.
Yeah.
You didn't see that. So I think studying history is really important, because then you'll see over time that certain things were not allowed.
We used to wear afros in the 70s.
Singers that get more popularity, they don't have the same vocal range because they're lighter skinned with blonde weave. And I think we know who that is.
No, you're right.
Who you talking about, Beyonce?
You're right. I did want to just add to what she was saying as well too. I'm sorry, guys. I know you were waiting to talk. Should I finish up? I'll just say it really quick. I just want to add to what she was saying, because back home in Nigeria, there are levels to it, basically. Like, there are some people that I don't even want to put on lotion. I'm gonna bleach this skin, because it is gonna elevate my status and put me in a better
Man, let me
position.
tell you something. I don't know if she was a black American or if she was African or not. There's this woman who was on social media, Instagram. It's a couple of years back. She was dark skinned like me. And she was the type of person, this was her story. I don't know her name. I wish I knew. She was a dark-skinned woman, and she kept watching everybody around her get married. And she felt like her dark skin kept her from being married. She felt like her dark skin kept her from being married. Men found her attractive, but they would not marry her because of her dark skin. So she bleached herself, and she didn't bleach herself super much. Well, it was super much given the fact that she was as dark as I am. And she went from being as dark as I am to like, damn, do I have anything to give you guys? Like, she went from being as dark as me to like a light brown, not really light. Come on, she went light. Let's see if I can find something, because she was still brown. She was just not as dark. She wasn't as light as Queen Latifah. Shoot. She was a little darker than Queen Latifah. But she was very much more lighter. Maybe she was like this guy. She wouldn't be, because I'm very dark. I don't know if you could see that. I'm very dark. And she kind of turned into like a caramel brown, but it's a little tidbit more darker than caramel, just a tidbit more darker, but it was definitely much more lighter. Then she went to like a caramel. I just say caramel. She went from being deep dark brown like myself, mahogany, and to a caramel. And the sad part is that once she changed her hue of complexion, and this seconded it for her, and that's why, it's so bad, but once she did become that caramel color, she did get married. And she herself said, why should I stop? Why should my hue of complexion hold me back from experiencing love? So she bleached herself and went from being as dark as me to being like a caramel hue of complexion. And she winds up getting married, and I feel like it further brainwashed her mind to believe that her hue of complexion played a part in why she wasn't getting married. I'm not saying it didn't. Maybe men weren't marrying her because she was dark. She shouldn't want to be married to that man, because if you can't see beauty in dark skin, and if you can't see beauty because somebody's skin is dark, something's wrong with you anyway. But I digress. Anyway, I don't want this to be long. This is long. Just 35 minutes. We in. But y'all, let's comment down below if you made it this far. Give me a check, give me a thumbs up, anything. Anyway, like, share, and subscribe. Stay up, stay blessed. Put God first above all else. Peace out. Bye for now. Oops.